he is a nobody. She is a goddess. The rule is silence. But he asked this, do you have a boyfriend? Her soul left her. Now he is doomed. Aoyagi Akihito was a simple guy, but today, he got absolutely wrecked by love at first sight. She walked in with that main character energy, silver hair glistening like she had a personal lighting crew, a smile that could cure depression. Her voice was so gentle it was basically live ASMR. Summer break was over. The boys were already plotting. This is Saionji, Aoyagi's best friend and designated chaos agent. The topic of the day, does the cute transfer student have a player too? Saionji wanted to ask right now, but Aoyagi voted to stay a coward. Too late, Saionji chose violence. He stood up and blasted the question at max volume. Yo, Charlotte, you got a boyfriend? Aoyagi just prepared his soul for the secondhand embarrassment. Charlotte rebooted. Her brain completely short-circuited from the sudden spotlight. She started stuttering like a scratched DVD. She barely managed to whisper a denial. The class erupted like they just won the World Cup. Aoyagi screamed at his bro to learn some basic privacy laws. The noise summoned the final boss, Miss Hanazawa. Akira tried to plead innocent, but he was sweating bullets. He even tried to throw Akihito under the bus to save his own skin. Teach wasn't buying it and grabbed him by the collar. She promised him a lecture that would last until graduation. The class watched the execution in silence. Akira's attention drifted. A blonde girl was striking a random pose in the middle of the drama. He did a double take. While the teacher kept yapping, the vibe shifted. Turns out, the poser was the new transfer student from England. Aoyagi's brain stopped working. She looked exactly like the girl from his memories. The class gave her a hero's welcome while he tried to process the coincidence. Just another average Tuesday. At break, Akira called him a traitor for not getting deleted with him. Aoyagi gave a half-hearted apology. They couldn't ignore the elephant in the room. Charlotte's Japanese was suspiciously perfect for a foreigner. Akihito explained that fluency is about vibes, not just words. He argued that learning 3 Japanese alphabets is way harder than the ABCs. Akira realized the competition was already swarming her. Aoyagi told him to play it cool and not be a creep. Akira ignored him and dove right in. Aoyagi just watched the train wreck happen. Surprisingly, she flashed a genuine smile. Maybe she wasn't so scary after all. Akira didn't waste a second. He shouted her name and invited her to kick it with the crew. The NPCs swarmed in, hyping up a massive karaoke party. Charlotte shut it down gently, using her little sister as a shield. Akira froze. His brain was buffering on how to handle the rejection. He pivoted. He told her to just bring the kid along. He refused to take no for an answer. The crowd closed in, trapping her in a wall of toxic positivity. Aoyagi watched the disaster unfold. She looked genuinely stressed out. The peer pressure was skyrocketing. He sighed. He had to be the bad guy. He stepped up and ordered Akira to cut the crap. He reminded the idiots that exams start next week. Vibe killed instantly. The class exploded. They called him the absolute worst for ruining the mood. He stood there and let the insults rain down. Fighting the hive mind would make him an outcast, but he didn't care. He was already a loner. Burning bridges didn't scare him. If he let this slide, the chaos would only get worse. He couldn't silence the mob by himself. He signaled the only person with enough clout to fix it. Akira caught the pass. He apologized and agreed to delay the party. The class was shocked their golden boy prioritized studying. Aoyagi drove the point home. He warned that failing grades would make Charlotte feel guilty. That logic worked. The herd reluctantly agreed to study. Saionji spun it as a victory. She promised a massive rap party after finals. The girls went back to gossiping. Crisis averted. The crowd dispersed. Akira leaned in. He whispered a secret thank you for the assist. They weren't as slick as they thought though. One girl saw the whole play. Miyu snatched Saionji's soul. She threatened to delete anyone who tanked the class average. She smiled. She released the poor guy from his misery. Saionji breathed a sigh of relief. He thought he survived. Miyu turned to Aoyagi. She told him to report for punishment too. She dragged him to the reference room. Then she apologized immediately. The work was just a cover story. The class was roasting him again. She needed an excuse to get him out of the fire. She got real with him. She asked why he always volunteered to be the villain. Aoyagi realized she watched his little stunt with Sayonji the whole time. She didn't step in because she trusted him. Miyu admitted she felt guilty for camping on the sidelines. Aoyagi just kept working. He ignored the mood. He told her to chill. He didn't mind the hate. Miyu stared at him. This kid had zero self-preservation instincts. He tried to act cool. He claimed the world needs a sacrifice. She rebooted his brain manually. She told him to cut the philosophical crap. If he kept refusing to cooperate with others, she would personally nuke his grades for being difficult. She claimed she was teaching him how unfair society is. Aoyagi stood there. He knew she was just a bully. She sensed the disrespect. She nearly strangled him. She let it slide to pivot to the actual mission. Walking home, Aoyagi replayed the advice to treasure himself, vowing to actually fix his life. But the universe interrupted his character arc with a loud English scream. He tracked the noise to a sketchy alleyway and found a tiny foreigner wailing her lungs out for someone named Lottie. The NPCs were ignoring her, probably terrified of a surprise English lesson. Aoyagi wasn't that heartless, so he rushed in and asked what was wrong. He dropped to her level, checking if she was separated from her parents. She treated him like a stranger danger poster boy and bolted. He shouted an apology for the jump scare, peeking around the corner like a creep. Luckily, curiosity won out, and she peeked right back. He sat down to debuff his intimidation stats and introduced himself. She clutched her skirt, hesitated, and finally whispered that her name was Emma. Aoyagi nodded, getting straight to the point. Where did she lose Lottie? Bad move. She confirmed Lottie was gone, and he made the mistake of asking for details. She immediately rebooted the siren protocol, screaming at full volume. He panicked, mentally scrolling through every toy and snack known to man to stop the noise. Then it clicked. He spotted the accessory in her hair and tried a desperate pivot to distract her. He deployed a kitten picture. It was super effective. She was glued to the screen. They bonded instantly over the universal truth that cats are culture. He analyzed her silver hair, deducing that Lottie was definitely short for Charlotte. He asked for her government name, confirming she was related to the Charlotte Bennett he knew. He proposed they go pay her a visit, assuring her it was possible. His confidence worked, and she lit up like a Christmas tree. Mission accepted. He told her to move, but she just stood there fidgeting. He leaned in, confused, until she reached out, and he completely missed the hint, so she spelled it out for him. Hold the hand. He took her hand, feeling a bit slow on the uptake while she beamed. He warned her not to walk while distracted, literally dragging her forward. Then he scooped up the device, wondering if she was finally done with the digital distraction. Suddenly, she stopped and threw her hands in the air, demanding a lift. Aoyagi tried to refuse, knowing how embarrassing this looked. But she hit him with the teary-eyed combo attack. He crumbled instantly, accepting his fate as a pack mule. They marched down the street, leaving the school drama behind for a side quest. Miyu spotted the unauthorized item immediately. Aoyagi explained he found the stray crying in the street. He introduced Emma. But the kid hit them with the ultimate disrespect, asking who these random NPCs were. Aoyagi explained what a teacher was. Emma nailed the definition, so she earned a legendary head pat. But the wholesome vibes got cut short. They moved to the lounge to talk. Miyu was already 5 steps ahead. She knew this was Charlotte's sister and had already made the call. Aoyagi tried to glaze her up, but she wasn't having it. The door got kicked open. Charlotte burst in, screaming for her sister like a maniac. She was dripping sweat, panting like she just ran a marathon. Miyu hit the brakes on the drama. She pointed to the VIP section. Charlotte peeked inside. She found the target. The little gremlin was passed out cold on the sofa, safe and sound. The adrenaline crash was instant. Charlotte's legs gave out and she crumpled to the floor. Aoyagi caught the assist, pulling her back up. She tried to thank him but realized something horrifying. She was sweating like a fountain. Aoyagi told her to chill, confirming the little one was fine. Charlotte turned beet red. She dropped a massive thank you bomb, crediting him with the rescue. She called him reliable, which is anime code for husband material. Aoyagi turned into a tomato. Miyu threatened to put his red face on the group chat. He couldn't handle the heat, so he initiated an emergency evacuation. Akihito tried to tactical retreat, telling Lottie he was dipping back to base. But before he could escape the awkwardness, the air shifted. A wild Emma burst through the door, screaming her sister's name. Earlier, Miyu had clung to his arm like a koala. Charlotte teased him about the culture, then got serious. She verified his first name was Akihito and saved that intel for a future scheme. Now she deployed that trap card. She told Emma to call him Oniai-chan. Oniai-chan. Akihito panicked at the sudden promotion, but Charlotte ignored him and coached the kid on the perfect lethal pronunciation. Emma loaded the ammo into the chamber. She unleashed a maximum power Oni-chan tine and launched herself like a heat-seeking missile directly into his gut. Charlotte applauded the critical hit, then politely asked Emma to release the hostage, but the kid went rogue. She refused to let go, screaming that she was going home with her new big brother. Akihito realized he was 5 seconds away from catching a kidnapping charge. Emma went full goblin mode, roaring that she is absolutely sticking with Big Bro. Charlotte recoiled like she'd just seen a ghost. The staff member just opened the door, accepting this new headache. His coworker gave a thumbs up, telling him to take the girls home. He tried to bail, swearing she'd just throw another tantrum at his place. But the boss doubled down, hinting he'd learn something spicy if he tagged along. Aoyagi stood there, completely confused by that logic. Charlotte finally worked up the nerve to call his name. She apologized for the drama, acting all shy and proper. Then she dropped the nuke, asking him to come home with them. Aoyagi nearly choked, convinced he was hallucinating. He asked if she was crazy, but she begged him like her life depended on it. He ran the mental math. Lonely commute or escort mission with a baddie? His willpower snapped like a dry twig. He sighed in defeat while she pumped her fist in victory. They grabbed their gear to bail. Charlotte flashed a smile so bright Akihito thought he was hallucinating, but the exit was blocked. Emma tugged his sleeve and spread her arms wide. She demanded an immediate airlift. Charlotte tried to intervene, explaining that Akihito wasn't a jungle gym. Emma violently shook her head no, then tried to storm off on her stubby little legs. Then she pulled the nuclear option, tears. Charlotte panicked, but Akihito stepped up to defuse the bomb. Charlotte apologized for the drama, but he figured being a human taxi was faster than arguing. Charlotte gave the green light, and Emma instantly secured her VIP seat, laughing like she won the lottery. Charlotte apologized for the drama, promising to lecture the kid later. Then she hit him with the major, "You are so kind" eyes. Emma just pouted, annoyed that the adults were speaking a language she could not understand. Akihito switched the server settings to English. They immediately started trading compliments on their bilingual stats. Emma demanded to download the Japanese language pack too. He promised she would master the skill in no time. She launched a tactical hug attack instantly. Charlotte realized her sister was basically a stray cat he had just adopted. Charlotte was actually shook by this behavior. She swore Emma was usually a total nightmare with strangers. She demanded to know what cheat code he used to tame the beast. His secret weapon? Cat videos. Simple as that. Charlotte processed this high-level intel, staring him down to find the lie. But she realized the truth. He's actually just a genuinely nice guy. She insisted his kindness was the real cheat code, totally hyping him up. Then, disaster struck. Accidental contact. He grazed her ribbon, and she short-circuited. She noped out of there at Mach 10 to avoid the embarrassment. Later, he confronted her about the sudden ghosting, but she just mumbled a vague apology. So he instantly activated sad emo boy mode. Panic set in. She chased after him, desperate to clear her name. She fidgeted like a nervous wreck, finally spilling the beans. She wasn't mad, she was just sweaty and self-conscious. Akihito nearly got game ended by the cuteness overload. She finally rebooted and thanked him for the save, but he shut that down immediately. Instead, he lectured her about boundaries. No more dragging people into her drama. Later, the guilt trip kicked in. She hated that he became the school villain just for her. He shrugged off the hate, but she had one more condition. She offered her gratitude with a look that screamed main heroine energy. He accepted the vibe check, mostly because he was stuck holding the loot. She invited him in, and he agreed, mostly because he was still holding the loot. She led him up the stairs, grinning like she knew a secret that was about to ruin his week. They hit the third floor landing. That is when he froze. He knew this hallway. This was his crib. Before he could accuse her of stalking, she told him to wait. She announced the grand opening of the door like a magician. The lock clicked. She flashed a peace sign, celebrating basic motor functions like an absolute champion. Then she dropped the bomb with a sparkle. She was not crashing his pad. She was moving into the apartment right next door. Akihito finally connected the dots on his teacher's warning. Charlotte apologized, dumped the sleeping Emma into his arms, and dipped. He stared at the sunset, terrified. His luck was too good, and the universe was definitely about to balance the books. Akihito opens the door to find the duo waiting. They invite themselves in with zero hesitation. Charlotte scans the apartment, judging his bachelor pad vibes instantly. She admits Emma forced the visit because she refused to sleep. Emma takes command and pats the floor. She orders him to sit and spread his arms wide. Then she launches a tactical snuggle strike right into his chest. Charlotte freezes, then rushes in to separate them before things get weird. She scolds the kid, but Emma fights back. She claims Onii-chan doesn't mind at all. Then, she drops the nuclear option. Weaponized tears. Akihito panics and caves immediately, letting her stay. Charlotte thanks him for being such a pushover. She politely asks to join, then she sits directly on his legs, nearly stopping his heart. She realizes the mistake and flushes crimson. Akihito stammers that the floor is perfectly fine. She retreats to the other side of the table. He exhales, grateful for the safety barrier. But Emma isn't done. She grabs his sleeve, reeling him back in. She demands playtime. Charlotte translates the request. She just wants his attention. He agrees and asks what the game plan is. Charlotte starts brainstorming. Charlotte suggests a round of dominoes to cure the boredom. Akihito is empty-handed, so she volunteers to raid her room for supplies. She sprints out the door like a track star. Left alone, the two agree on one thing. Charlotte is absolute top-tier wifey material. She returns with the goods instantly. Akihito tries to set up the game, but Emma demands an immediate airlift. She hits him with the tactical pout. Logic fails. She ignores the tiles and demands a hug with weaponized tears. Charlotte realizes the kid has zero interest in strategy. Akihito is skeptical, but Charlotte explains the meta. Emma doesn't actually play dominoes. She just likes watching things crumble. It's about destruction. Basically, they do the manual labor and she gets the entertainment. Akihito realizes they are just enabling her. They accept their fate as servants and start stacking. One wrong move and it's over. Charlotte pauses, sensing a disturbance in the force. But the client is satisfied. That smile is worth the back pain. Charlotte documents the wholesome family bonding. She points out that Emma finally has a big brother to spoil her. The trap is set. The dominoes are ready to fall. Emma volunteers to be the demolition expert. Gravity does its job. The chain reaction is flawless. Emma demands an instant replay. She drops the Oni-chan bomb casually. Charlotte is so relieved she physically malfunctions and flops onto him. Emma goes in for the finishing move, snuggling up like a kitten. Charlotte confirms it. He's the chosen big brother now. Then Emma delivers the fatality. I love Oni-chan. Critical hit. Akihito takes massive emotional damage. The girls check if he is game ending, but he's just overwhelmed by the wholesome. Emma starts the ritual chant for destruction. While he blows his nose, she blows up the tower. Mission accomplished. Charlotte thanks him for the assist, holding on to the sleeping loot. Akihito tries to humble brag. It was nothing, just another Tuesday. But she shuts that down. To a kid with zero Japanese skills, he is the only safe harbor on the map, so she shoots her shot. She needs him to be Emma's designated player too until she adjusts. Akihito buffers. He has grades to maintain and a future to secure. He cannot just burn time. But Charlotte is the self-sacrificing type. If she is asking for a favor, she is already at her limit. He realizes he cannot say no. He signs the contract, promising to free up his schedule, but playtime is over for now. On the way out, he asks about the rest of the family. Charlotte's smile fades. Nobody else is coming back. Akihito drops his own bombshell. He lives solo. Charlotte freezes. A high schooler with his own base? She processes the info. That is rare loot in this economy. Suddenly, his stomach betrays him. Charlotte realizes she kept him past feeding time. He tries to flee to a convenience store, but his gut protests louder. She makes a command decision. She declares she is cooking dinner. Akihito stares at her like she spoke alien. She hits him with the sad puppy eyes. It is an unblockable attack. He surrenders immediately. Aoyagi had to pinch himself. Life was going way too well. He knew the universe was plotting his downfall. Then, bam! Charlotte hit him with the stealth hug. She leaned in, and Aoyagi nearly soul exited his body. She innocently asked what he liked to eat while chopping veggies. but he was too busy sweating bullets to give a straight answer. He waved it off, pretending his heart wasn't doing parkour inside his chest. Crisis averted. He exhaled, while the extras kept the kitchen running. She was out cold, leaving a puddle of drool on the pillow. He played the nice guy and wiped it off. He stood there, admiring what a cute little sister she was, until she jump-scared him, warning him not to try any pranks. But she flips the script instantly. She hits him with a sneak attack, laughing as he jumps out of his skin. She admits she just wanted to see him squirm. He calls her out, realizing she is surprisingly mischievous. She hits him with a coy, maybe, then she leans in with a devilish grin. She confesses she specifically wants to prank him. She pivoted away, dodging the awkward conversation instantly, and presented a dinner that looked way too professional. She started rummaging through her bag, while Akihito gulped, wondering if he was the main course. He took one bite, and the flavor absolutely exploded. Charlotte smiled, glad she didn't mess it up. Then she locked in, watching him chew in high definition. He asked if she cooked Japanese style often. She wanted to make meat stew, but lacked the supplies. Apparently, she heard it is the ultimate simp magnet. She assumed he would have loved that even more. Akihito had no clue where she got her stats. He just kept munching away in silence. Hey, he is not going to complain about a free meal. The meal was absolutely fire, leaving Akihito leaning back, totally stuffed. Charlotte tried to thank him again, admitting she would have been wrecked if she lost that little girl. He got serious, warning her that a cute foreign kid like Emma is basically a magnet for kidnappers. Charlotte looked confused, so he spelled it out. Standing out puts a target on your back. But then he flipped the script, claiming that crowds are actually safer because strangers help lost kids. He called Japan relatively safe, and she realized he was just trying to make her feel better. She called him out, realizing he was just trying to calm her down. He tried to play the humble card, saying anyone would do it. She wasn't buying it. She knew plenty of fakes, but Akihito was the real deal. He mumbled that he didn't deserve a reward, feeling awkward. Charlotte laughed. She didn't want cash, she just wanted his friendship. He agreed instantly, locking in the wholesome alliance. Charlotte turned to leave, but Akihito called a timeout before she could bail. He started stuttering, trying to find the right words, so she spun around to hear him out. She immediately nuked the vibe. She told him to act like she didn't exist once they got to school. Aoyagi panicked, warning that one slip-up would start the rumor mill. He pictured the class going feral, demanding the tea. Sweating bullets, he decided strict secrecy was the only option. If the class found out they were neighbors, it would be a total disaster. He refused to let his quiet life get wrecked by gossip. Bennett's face fell, the rejection stinging. But she took the L, promising to keep her distance. Deal made. They waved an awkward goodbye. Back inside, little Emma was already fast asleep. Bennett stroked her hair, whispering sweet dreams, but as the adrenaline wore off, she realized she is literally living next door to her classmate. Hanazawa checks the file and immediately clocks the address. It belongs to Aoyagi, the school's #1 agent of chaos. Bennett is shook, but Sasagawa tries to defend the kid. Sasagawa plays the class angel. She steps in to save Bennett from the bullies, telling them to back off the exchange student. Then she drops a truth bomb. That delinquent Aoyagi is actually the top-ranked student in the entire school. Bennett pouts, totally confused by the mixed signals. Is he a punk or a scholar? Sasagawa calls him a prodigy. Hanazawa corrects her. He is not a natural genius, just a highly calculated machine. Hanazawa gives Bennett the green light. If things get spicy, use Aoyagi as a human shield. He will not abandon a teammate. Bennett freezes. It is weird that the teacher trusts the problem child with her life. But there is a massive catch. Hanazawa warns her, never take his words at face value. Trust his actions, not his mouth. He plays 4D chess while everyone else plays checkers. He ignores short-term feelings to win the long game. If people are hating on him, he probably planned it. Hanazawa pokes Sasagawa just to see if she is paying attention. Bennett finally gets it. Aoyagi is intentionally playing the villain role to control the narrative. Hanazawa sighs. She does not have proof, only a gut feeling. But she is betting on Bennett to crack the code. Sasagawa calls it something else, woman's intuition. She goes full beast mode, trying to spook the serious teacher. Big mistake, Hanazawa snaps. She grabs a handful of hair and lifts Sasagawa off the ground. She applies the legendary Iron Claw punishment. Bennett stands there, realizing she is literally trapped inside a comedy manga. Hanazawa tries to rattle the new girl. She drops a warning about a classmate's preferences. Bennett shrugs it off. She praises the UK's progressive laws, and Sensei is disappointed by the lack of drama. They wrap up the paperwork. Suddenly, Bennett notices a hostage situation happening right in front of her. The girl's soul is literally leaving her body. Hanazawa claims it is just childhood affection. Sasagawa plays the supportive mentor card. She offers to help with the culture shock. Hanazawa backs her up. Then she stops Bennett right before she can escape. She casually suggests Bennett grab a boyfriend while she is here. Bennett's brain short circuits. That reaction confirms she has zero experience. Hanazawa realizes that level of innocence is a weapon of mass destruction. Bennett screams. Her dignity evaporates instantly. Sasagawa makes a fatal mistake. She points out Hanazawa is also single. Knuckles start cracking immediately. The mood shifts to violence. Sasagawa uses her student as a human shield. Bennett orders them to behave like adults. The teachers instantly start the blame game. They finally apologize for the chaos. Bennett walks away confused. Hanazawa watches her go. She senses an opportunity. She suspects this transfer student might be the only one who can fix Aoyagi. Later that night, Bennett is safe in her room, absolutely glazing Aoyagi. She's convinced he's a total saint and vows to make this friendship work. But then, the cringe hits. She remembers his cryptic warning about avoiding trouble. That one red flag keeps her up, wondering if he's actually nice, or just playing the game. The teacher was fighting for her life against the chalkboard while Aoyagi judged the gameplay from the back. Suddenly, a wild classmate spawned right in his face. Charlotte deployed a tactical wave that absolutely shattered his defenses. His hand betrayed him, shooting up on instinct, but he strangled his own wrist to stop the cringe. He swore to keep his distance. Just as the teacher cut the mic to wrap up the session, she called his name, freezing him in place while the rest of the class made their escape. Escape wasn't happening. Alan was camping the door, grinning like she just hit the jackpot. She saw everything. The smile, the wave, the whole show. She mimicked him perfectly, and Akihito started sweating bullets while trying to plead not guilty. She claimed his eyes were smiling. He flashed back to the blonde bombshell and realized, yeah, he was caught in 4K. He begged her not to make him sound like a creep, but Alan just steamrolled right past his defense. She dropped the main quest, protect Charlotte. Not because she is weak, but because she is a total magnet for weirdos. And let's be real, her looks are a problem. Akihito couldn't argue, since that smile was already living rent-free in his head. He agreed to play bodyguard. Alan wished every student was this easy to handle. But just as he tried to escape to class, she hit the pause button. She warned him, "Don't set yourself on fire just to keep other people warm." He froze. He had to atone for the past. That was the one line in the sand he refused to cross. Alan challenged his logic. Does saving a stranger really fix what you broke? He didn't care. As long as the real victim was happy, he was irrelevant. She tried to tell him he was a victim too, but he wasn't hearing it. He shut her down cold, telling Sensei to stop prying into business that wasn't hers. Alan didn't flinch. She pulled out the receipts, swearing she would never stay on the sidelines. He instantly regretted the attitude. Alan forgave him with a tactical head pat. Outsudavidden of all four. We in something. She knew he was carrying the weight of the world on a high schooler's back. She kept the head pats coming. She knew this lone wolf act had an expiration date. One day, he would change his mind, even if it took a while. Back at the apartment, the tiny tyrant was already making demands. Emma looked up from her book, begging to play with her new favorite big brother. Charlotte tried to play responsible adult. She explained they couldn't just harass him every single day. Emma hit her with the tactical puffed cheeks. Then she escalated to verbal violence, followed by the physical shakedown. She wasn't taking no for an answer. Charlotte tried to bargain. Be a good girl now, get a reward later. Emma shut that down instantly. Time for Plan B. Charlotte offered a shopping trip to distract the beast. Emma dropped the markers and agreed. Crisis averted. She waited by the door while Charlotte put on her shoes. One excitement scream later, and they were gone. It was actually kind of a miracle. Emma usually treats human contact like it's poison. She hates holding hands with anyone but family. But with Alan, she's all over him. The guy is officially an exception to the rule. Charlotte couldn't help but smile, wondering what to cook for the guy who somehow charmed her little sister, but the wholesome vibes snapped instantly. On the train ride over, Charlotte looked away for 1 second, and Emma pulled a ninja vanish. Panic mode engaged, she tore through the carriage, hyperventilating. She tracked the little gremlin down to a hallway, but Emma wasn't scared. She was assaulting a door with a broom. Charlotte lunged to stop the vandalism, but she was too slow. Ding dong! The trap was sprung. Emma cheered like she just won the lottery. Charlotte grabbed her, trying to do damage control before they got evicted. But the chaos was already too loud to ignore. Alan cracked the door open to investigate the riot. He didn't even get a word out for a heat-seeking missile launched into his ribs. Direct hit. He scratched his head and awkwardly invited the circus inside. Charlotte turned beet red, but hey, she wasn't gonna say no to a house tour. Marin decided personal space was a myth, so she turned Miyu into her personal human sofa. Miyu tried to set some boundaries and scolded her for the constant grappling, but it was like talking to a brick wall. Marin swore up and down that this was just standard gals being pals behavior. Miyu called Cap immediately, sensing a trap, but Marin just laughed it off. This nonsense went way back. Marin clung so hard in school that everyone thought Miyu was into girls. Marin insisted it was Miyu's fault for looking like a boy band heartthrob. She put on a pouty face, complaining that her feelings were being totally ignored. Miyu scolded the attitude, and that's when Marin finally snapped. She started screaming about just how dense Miyu really was. She went full Velcro mode, latching onto his waist while the bystander just stood there, buffering. Right on cue, the classroom door clicked open. The intruder took a second to process the scene. She caught the hug in high definition, and honestly, she was totally living for the fan service. To dodge the awkward vibes, she pivoted, swore she was about to cook up a masterpiece. Hair tied back, battle prep complete, gamer mode activated. Marin tried to hype up the childhood friend lore, but Miyu shut that cringe down fast. Then, physics just glitched. She spawned a tactical broom out of nowhere, leaving him questioning her inventory space. Emma greets him with max energy, clinging to him like a koala. Stands at the door, looking like she walked into the wrong house. Akihito waves her inside. He tells her to relax, even though she is acting like a vampire waiting for an invite. She spots his textbooks and immediately starts apologizing for existing. Akihito shuts that down fast. He reminds her she has VIP neighbor privileges. He is even willing to tank his sleep schedule for them. He sits them down, ready to hear the tea. Then the truth comes out. Emma throws Charlotte under the bus, calling her annoying. Akihito realizes he walked into a war zone. Charlotte tries to do damage control, but Emma pulls the ultimate card. She appeals to Big Brother to paint Charlotte as the villain. Akihito reads the room perfectly. He tells Charlotte he knows she is just being a responsible guardian. The tension leaves her body instantly. She thanks him, relieved she is not the bad guy anymore. He turns to the little drama queen. He explains Charlotte was not bullying her. Emma hiccups, still skeptical. Charlotte jumps in, pouting that she was not actually angry, she was just doing her job. Akihito declares neutrality, promising to protect them both. Emma launches a tactical I love you strike. Akihito realizes this kid is going to be a menace when she grows up. Charlotte catches him muttering, but he plays dumb. Emma demands a dinner date. Charlotte tries to drag her away before they become a burden. The kid fights back with zero dignity. Akihito steps in, saying kids are allowed to be selfish. Emma immediately weaponizes this kindness to dunk on Charlotte again. Charlotte giggles, admiring how reliable he is. Akihito ends up holding a screaming banshee. He looks like he is rethinking his life choices. He asks about dinner plans. Charlotte remembers she needs groceries. She invites him to sample her cooking again. He accepts instantly. He grabs her bags, ignoring her polite refusal. They head to the supermarket looking like a happy family. Emma tries to secure some snacks. Charlotte shuts it down, citing her earlier crimes. The kid unleashes a weaponized pout. She runs to Akihito, claiming abuse again. He does not take the bait. Instead, he offers a trade. Apologize to Charlotte, and maybe snacks will happen. He explains that Charlotte was hurt too. He wants her to fix it. Emma spots her target. Charlotte walks in, looking regal. The little gremlin bows at a 90-degree angle. She drops the apology. Charlotte decided to take the high road. She flashed a winning smile, apologized for the bullying, and opened her arms for a hug. Emma hit the abort button immediately. She screamed for her brother, dodged the embrace, and tackled Aoyagi instead. Aoyagi tried to do damage control, swearing she's just a kid. Charlotte waved it off, but the vibe in the room definitely dropped. They rolled up to the everyday store and the vibes were absolutely rancid. Charlotte was still salty about the rejected hug, making the car ride painfully awkward. Then, disaster struck. Emma's hunger bar hit 0. Akihito begged her to hold the line until they got home. Charlotte apologized, but she couldn't exactly spawn snacks out of thin air. The kids started spiraling, so Akihito had to drop the tactical good girl bomb. She froze up, asking if she was actually being a good kid. He smoothed it over with head pats, telling her she was the MVP. That little ego boost fixed her entire mood instantly. He kept hyping her up, wondering if he was laying it on too thick, but she bought it, relieved to be on the good list. He distracted her with cat videos to keep the peace. Charlotte watched the master at work. This guy is a parenting wizard. She leaned in, treating personal boundaries like a mere suggestion. Akihito panicked, suddenly trapped in a high-pressure girl sandwich. Charlotte kept glazing him up for his expert parenting skills. Akihito tried to deflect the praise, but he realized he needed to hit the emergency eject button on this conversation immediately. She asked what he wanted to eat, and he almost triggered a tactical error. He started to say ramen, then realized she would go overboard and brew authentic broth from scratch just to flex. He wisely pivoted to the kid instead. Emma demanded hamburger steak, saving him from the pressure. Charlotte looked a little bummed she couldn't show off, but they grabbed the ingredients. The squad rolled out, with Charlotte strictly enforcing the one-snack limit. Emma is losing her absolute mind over hamburgers, bouncing on Aoyagi's lap like a human pogo stick. He tries to calm her down, but the hype train has 0 brakes. She needs a distraction, so she demands cat videos immediately. Charlotte hands over the tablet, and the kid is instantly hypnotized by the digital fluff. Charlotte serves up a 5-star feast, but Emma refuses to disconnect from the kitty matrix. She picks pixels over protein, ignoring the food entirely. So Charlotte hits her with that devious anime villain grin. She threatens to delete Emma's burger from existence. The kid panics, realizing her lunch is about to get sent to the lobby. She swears off the internet and scrambles to the table. Aoyagi helps her get set. She nails the ritual, and they finally dig in before the food gets cold. While Charlotte was stuck on dish duty, the kid was logging some serious offline hours right next door. Charlotte pointed out that nobody sleeps that hard unless they feel totally safe. She slid into his personal space, nearly giving him a heart attack. She apologized for the jump scare, but pointed out the obvious. Then she dropped the hammer. That kid definitely loves him. Aoyagi froze, his brain buffering at 99%. To save the vibe, she got a little shy and asked if they could go touch some grass together. The vibe shifted to full-blown romance anime mode as Charlotte leaned into the wind, looking like a literal goddess. Akihito showed up with a pillow, trying to play it cool, but his heart was beating so loud it probably woke the neighbors. Later, Akihito hyped up the spinach quiche like a 5-star food critic. He called it a masterpiece. Charlotte beamed, noting his sister Emma usually pairs this stuff with burgers. She teased him for being obsessed with his sister. Even though he denied it, he knew she was right. He made a silent vow to never let that girl feel lonely again. As long as she didn't cause trouble, he'd let her be free. Even if she clung to him like a backpack, he was ready to carry the weight. On the walk home, Charlotte dropped some unexpected therapy facts. She claimed Emma only raged because she felt safe. Akihito just thought his sister was a tiny tyrant. Charlotte wasn't done, poking the sleeping kid to prove her point. She told him straight up, for 2 strangers, their bond was overpowered. Then she dropped the emotional nuke. She revealed Emma actually said she loved him because he's kind. Akihito froze, unable to process the compliment. Charlotte stared him down, ready to make her move. She hit him with a curveball, calling him a total weirdo. Before he could panic, she waved it off. She wasn't roasting him. She admitted talking to him actually puts her at ease. She finally understood why Emma was so glued to him. His heart rate spiked. Usually, guys terrify her with their aggressive vibes. But Akihito, he had kind eyes. He was the first dude who didn't make her want to run away. Her brain caught up with her mouth and she tried to laugh off the accidental confession. He wasn't letting that slide. He grinned like an idiot at the praise. To change the subject, he asked what she actually did for fun. Her answer was instant. Manga. He blinked, totally confused. She doubled down. Manga is life. Anime is a close second. She started yapping about how 2D beats 3D any day. Then she dropped the nuke. She wants to cosplay. His imagination went wild. That was way too much culture for his poor heart to handle.